Alrighty, just gonna wait a few minutes for people to join, and let's see. All right, just waiting for some viewers to join. Specifically, we're doing a live stream with Family Doctor today, so I'm going any second, see if it worked. Let's try this again. Okay. All right, we're all good. Yay, awesome.
I think we're on to something. Is this working?
Yes, I think it works for me. As long as it works
That's
for you, then we're
amazing.
great.
It's so good to see you.
Yes, likewise. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm so glad we get to hang out today and do this.
I
It's going to be
know.
awesome.
Yes, I'm super excited. Looking forward to this all day.
Me
So,
too.
all
Oh,
right.
and look at all the people logging in. Hi, everybody.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the live. We're super happy you guys are joining us today. We're having a really interesting and exciting conversation. So,
Why don't we
all
go
right.
ahead and jump into it? So, the reason why we're here today is that we wanted to have a really important conversation. I did not realize how many people in America are living with allergies. And it turns out there's 33 million Americans living with a life-threatening food allergy, and not all of them necessarily are getting the care that they need. And so, what we wanted to do was jump into having a conversation about how family doctors and patients can work together to really close that gap to make sure that folks are getting the actual care that they need, but then also having the conversations they might need to have, even just to identify that they had a food allergy in the first place. So my name is Margot Savoy. I am the Chief Medical Officer for the American Academy of Family Physicians. Super excited to be here today, getting to talk to Mia Silverman, who a lot of you already know. Mia, I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce yourself to the group.
Alrighty. Hi, everyone. My name is Mia Silverman. For those that don't know me, I am a food allergy advocate slash influencer and have been doing this for almost 5 years now, which is crazy. I kind of just showcase how I live my life with over 50 allergies. Yes, 50. I showcase how I travel, how I date, how I go to college or now grad school, dining out, all of that exciting stuff. But ultimately, my goal is just to showcase how people like me that have allergies can live a really fulfilling and awesome life and just trying to normalize that a little bit more. And so we're going to have some really interesting conversations today. And I'm super excited to be here with you guys and be with you, Dr. Savoy. Such a pleasure to finally have a conversation with you. And yeah.
Well, I know you surprised me. So, I mean, I know a lot of times as a family doc, we think about people with allergies. We think about so many different kinds. I mean, some people are just allergic to grass, and some people maybe just have a food. So they're like, oh, I have a problem when I eat shrimp. But it
Yeah.
seems like a relatively small thing. You're like, oh, well, so just don't eat shrimp. And everybody kind of moves on. But
Right.
interestingly, like, there's a growing number of people who it's not just one food or it's not just one thing that they're allergic to. And it sounds like in your life, you actually got diagnosed with a pretty big number at a really young age. Could you tell us more about it?
Yes. So when I was 2, I had an anaphylactic reaction to a cookie that had a tree nut. I think it was like either pistachio or cashews. But I was sent to the emergency room, did epinephrine, and the doctor gave me a list of all these allergies that I have, and they kind of said, "Here you go, figure it out." So we met with our primary care slash family doctor like a few days after. And unfortunately, the doctor that I had, who was super nice and super helpful, just did not know much about having someone like me who has so many allergies because I was labeled as a medically complex patient after that. So it was definitely very daunting and intimidating for sure. But my doctor did, of course, prescribe epinephrine and tried to give my mom and my dad and I some resources to somewhat give us some help. But there was not much information back then. And mind you, it was over 20 years ago. Times have changed now. But back in the day, it was definitely not the most great experience, but my primary care slash family doc I have today is excellent. He's super knowledgeable about allergies and tries his best to support me every day. So I'm super grateful for him. But that's my overall experience. So
Yeah, I think it's hard. So I mean, I can imagine that I think back, when you say back in the day, 20 years ago, it makes
I
me feel
know.
so old. But the reality is that a lot of things have happened in the last 20 years, both with people having access to knowledge. So just knowing
Yeah.
that you can be allergic to different kinds of foods, knowing that a person can be allergic to more than one type of thing, and that
Yeah.
epinephrine is great because it's going to save your life. But even what do you do with that EpiPen? How do you get yourself to the right place? Are you good to go? Do you need to go to the hospital? There's a lot of details that get
Yeah.
wrapped up in getting that diagnosis. I imagine that for your family, there were things that if you look back at it now, you really wish you could have had a conversation about. when you look back
Yeah.
now, are there things that you wish that your family doc would have known back then, or that maybe your mom would have said that she wished that the family doctor had known back then to sort of get you started navigating in the most effective way?
Yeah, I think there's so many different things that people with allergies are impacted by every day. So not just like not being able to eat the food, but also like knowing about cross contact and how that actually works. Knowing about how allergies navigate or not navigate, like impact your mental health. So people that have anxiety, I have anxiety because of my food allergies, and not really knowing about that when I was younger was definitely very difficult. I also think like knowing about the friendship aspect of having allergies, because when you're a kid, kids can be mean in school. I got bullied a lot when I was in elementary and middle school, and even a little bit of high school too, because of my allergies. So having that, I wish I would have known that ahead of time so I could have been more prepared. And same with my mom and my dad, because they could have better like taught me how to like stand up for myself more, because obviously they didn't really know what to expect with me, because that it was also their first time navigating having a child with allergies. They weren't really aware of allergies as well. So having to figure it out just on our own was definitely very challenging. So I wish my physician at the time would have acknowledged the other impacts that allergies can cause on someone like me. So that's definitely something that I think about a lot.
Wow. So it sounds like there's sort of two sides of it. So there's one side that's just sort of knowing that there's an allergy and knowing that you have the right medication and the right way to approach, avoiding that in the future. And then there's this other side that sort of, I guess I'm going to call it just how to live your life. Like, how do you live a
Yes.
life once you find out that you're sort of diagnosed with something that could show up anywhere on any day? Because I can see how that could be anxiety provoking if you're not really sure. And as a child, I can also imagine it was a bit alienating because now it makes you special, but it also might make you a little bit different, and that might be something that's worth talking about and really thinking through together as a family and with your family doctor. How would we work through with the times when you might feel a little bit different, or when people bring in cookies for school? Can you have the cookies in the class, and what does that mean for you?
Right. Right.
Wow.
I even think like addressing the classroom is a whole different topic within itself, like knowing how to talk to your teachers ahead of time about your allergies, and maybe making sure there's no food allowed in class, or maybe making sure it's like a peanut free zone. There's so many things that go into it that at the time family physicians, at least mine, was just not really well aware of. But I think because there's so much information online and there's so many advocates and doctors sharing their experience and their knowledge, definitely is a bit easier, and there's definitely a lot more information out there to help family physicians and also patients as well and their families.
Now, I know that sometimes we just assume that people know that they have an allergy because sometimes people had them in their family, or other people just knew that they already had an allergy somehow. In your case, like, did you already know that you were probably going to have allergies, or was it a complete surprise for your family?
Yeah, so my father has eczema and had a shellfish allergy, but it was the allergy itself was very mild. So it wasn't like anything he was concerned about because he never experienced anaphylaxis. He might take like a Benadryl and call it a day. But there was not really any family history of food allergies that were like to the extent of mine. So my parents did not see it coming. And not only me, but my brother also has allergies too. He's been able to outgrow almost everything. I just have a really weird medically complex situation, but they were just not at all prepared or had any like prediction that I would have allergies, which there is a lot of studies about how it could be genetic and stuff like that, but they just did not expect it. So,
I mean, I just
good
think that's really
question.
important for people to realize, so that, a lot of times I hear patients tell me, oh, well, I don't have allergies. Nobody in my family has allergies. And it turns out you could actually be the first one. It also may
Yes.
be that the people in your family didn't recognize the allergy as the allergy. So I've heard
Hmm.
stories of families are like, oh, I don't have an allergy. My mouth just itches when I eat pineapple. But that happens to everybody. And you're like, no, that's actually not how that works. And I mean, honestly, we just got lucky that it didn't get worse, sooner.
Right.
Um, you had that really scary anaphylaxis right from the beginning, so everybody knew there was an emergency. But for some people, you might have other symptoms that might not be that obvious, and you might need to have a conversation. So it really goes back for me a lot of times about being able to have open, honest conversations about things that don't feel right about your body. So it may not be that you know that you had the allergy, it may not be so obvious. But just saying, is it normal that, like, when I eat pineapple my mouth itches, or is it normal that my face swells up a little bit every time I'm around shellfish? Is an
Right.
important thing to feel comfortable talking to your family doc about.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that allergies, like reactions, can be kind of a spectrum. It can be like, it's not like all or nothing. It can just be, like you said, like an itchy tongue or some hives, but it can also be like a stomach ache and itchy throat. Like there is a wide range of reactions. And I think that patients and their doctors need to be more aware of that and talk about that, because for me, mine's pretty typical where I have like an all or nothing reaction. But for someone like my brother, he might just get like an itchy throat and that's it. Or like you said, with the pineapple situation. So it's definitely like there's a lot of nuance when it comes to types of reactions and that are not always seen as, oh, is this actually an allergy? Is this like an intolerance? But it could be actually an allergy.
Wow. So
Yeah.
how do you manage like on a day-to-day, like, I mean, I don't know, like you were in college, you had to go and do
Yeah.
things. I mean, I can see how when you're little, like your parents can kind of hone in all the food and try to keep you kind of safe. But when you had to like go and start picking your own food or going out to restaurants or hanging out with friends, how do you actually navigate that? It would seem like it would be really scary, but also just daunting.
Yeah, so for me, something that I was taught very young was having an allergy action plan of some kind. So making sure I'm always carrying my epinephrine with me, my allergy chef card or a medical card of some kind, my inhalers. I also have asthma, and then antihistamines. And when it comes to like going out, I always bring those with me in a cute little purse. So at least it's kind of fun and I enjoy it to somewhat extent. But when it comes to eating out, I have to go extra steps like calling the restaurant ahead of time, talking to the chef or the manager, making sure that they know what cross contact is, if they can wipe down the surfaces, make me a special meal, if they can even accommodate me in the first place. When it comes to going to university or now grad school, I just had a call earlier with the disability office, make sure that they can make like a peanut-free classroom and they can let me wipe down the surfaces or be able to talk to the professor. Um, when it comes to like traveling, having to also talk to the flight attendants and the flight staff ahead of time, make sure I can like pre-board the plane and wipe down my seat and make sure they can do like a no nuts like allergy like announcement, because I am technically like airborne to nuts, at least within like a certain like vicinity. Um, but I guess overall, having to do extra steps and always making sure I have my allergies in mind when I navigate my day-to-day life. So when someone, does something like go to a restaurant, I have to do extra steps than the average person would. So it's just a lot of pre-planning and being really organized and basically being like a type A person. At least that's kind of what I was forced to become. But it's honestly worth it because it keeps me safe. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I could totally see how you'd have to be really thinking ahead and planning. That spontaneous thing could be, the one time that it actually gets you in a bad situation.
Right.
What's interesting is as you were describing that though, is that I think about the times that I've seen people, like in a restaurant or in a place, and people sort of roll their eyes or they sort of get a little bit huffy or frustrated when a person is like, oh, I really have allergies to things, and I mean, you've got so many different allergies that I imagine it's difficult even sometimes to get a restaurant who can actually make a meal that would be safe for you.
Absolutely.
Do you find that you sort of experience that stigma, or is that just something that I picked up on, once or twice?
Oh, it is not just you. I definitely experience that on the daily. I've gone to restaurants where I'll say, "Hey, I have allergies. Like, I'm so sorry to be like annoying like that." And they're just like, "Oh my gosh, are you like they will roll their eyes, they will get annoyed." And I get that stigma online all the time. I receive tons of hate comments and messages. Like I just posted a video today about like some crazy messages that I've received. So there's still a lot of stigma around food allergies because I think people think it's either like a choice or you're just really picky or you're just being super high maintenance and difficult. Um, but I think that, by having more resources online, it definitely kind of normalizes it a little bit more. People are at least more aware, and because also allergies are becoming a more common thing. Like you just said, over 33 million Americans have food allergies. It's definitely like becoming a bigger issue. And so people are becoming more aware and hopefully they'll decrease the stigma. But there's still definitely a stigma issue for sure.
I mean, and I can imagine, I know with just stigmas in general, or anytime people are just a little bit different. I mean, my mom always calls it special, but
I
like,
love that.
anytime you find yourself in a situation where you're a little bit special from the rest of the group, it seems like finding a place where people can see you becomes really important. And you and I had a really cool conversation about some of the work you're doing in grad school and sort of where you see yourself going. And I think you're doing something that most people don't even know exists. Would you mind telling everybody a little bit about both your advocacy work, but then also your career plans?
Yeah, so one of the topics I touch on a lot is food allergy, anxiety, and mental health because a lot of the suffering that at least I experience and other people with allergies experience is up here because there's a lot of anxiety that comes around with having allergies. There's a lot of stigma, and I think that trying to bridge that gap is super important. And so when I was younger, I saw a food allergy psychologist because I experienced really bad depression and anxiety from my food allergies, and she changed my life. She changed my way of thinking, and that kind of helped me have the courage to eat out, travel more, go to a school far from home. And it's kind of what I showcase in my day-to-day life on my TikTok and Instagram, or my advocacy in general, is trying to showcase like you can do this, but there is obviously like that mental hurdle you have to kind of get through. And so I was able to kind of do that. And yes, I still experience anxiety every single day. It's just now I know how to have like the proper coping skills. So because of that, there's not a lot of allergy psychologists out there, and I want to be able to do that and help people like me kind of overcome or at least become more confident in their allergies and own it versus viewing it as like an enemy, and proving that you can still live an amazing life and do things that bring you joy without letting your allergies stop you. So I'm an incoming graduate student to get a master's in clinical psychology with the ultimate goal of getting a PhD or a PsyD, depending on what program I get into. But I'm also doing research with my former school I went to for undergrad at NYU, doing a study to help improve the mental health experience for patients undergoing oral immunotherapy, which is a food allergy treatment. So there's lots of mental health impacts that are caused by food allergies. We're trying to just find healthy coping mechanisms to help people feel more confident in themselves. And I was able to learn those skills. I want to be able to provide that online for free for people that follow me, but also help people one-on-one in the future. It's
Oh my gosh,
definitely
I
an
love that.
issue.
I love it so much. Like, and when you first started telling me about it, I loved how you were able to take something that could have been really, really devastating and sort of made you want to sort of go into yourself, stay in the house, not go outside,
Yeah.
not get to experience life. And you really turned it into an opportunity, not just for yourself, so that you could actually go out and experience life and do things and overcome the anxiety that is a very real anxiety, that there are things out there that could really harm you, and being able to get past that to be able to experience your life, but then also the reaching back and helping others and finding ways to help them also find their confidence. But also it sounds like it's not even just about your confidence, it's also about being prepared and knowing
Yes.
what you need to know to sort of show up in the world and be able to be the very best you with your food
Thank you.
allergies, not in spite of your food allergies, which is pretty
Yes.
awesome. I
Thank
love
you.
it. I love
I
it. I love it. I
definitely
love it.
think that there is a lack, or there's still a lot of information online, right? But there is a disparity of like mental health resources. But I am seeing, I have a few friends online that are becoming allergy psychologists or therapists, and it gives you a lot of hope for the future too. But I think that the next big step to help people with allergies is not just like, how to navigate it, but also how to like help mentally so you feel more confident in yourself. That's something that I think is super important with navigating allergies, because it's definitely like a multidisciplinary kind of approach. It's not just having epinephrine, but also feeling good mentally, keeping yourself safe, having like being really prepared and things like that. So thank you
I
for
know.
saying those things.
Oh, my pleasure. I know you mentioned earlier that the family doc you have now is a really different experience than the one you had when you were a kid.
Yes.
I'm thinking about like, what are some of the advice that we could give to family docs that might help them show up better for their patients? What is it that your family doc's doing right now that's really resonating well with you, that's sort of really helping you?
Well, he's super in the know of the new allergy treatments coming out. He knows about like there's a peanut patch that's being done. He knows about like Neffy, which is the first ever like needle-free epinephrine like device that goes in your nose versus like having to use a needle, which is revolutionary. Um, he even knows about like different types of like mental health like treatments, like going to therapy really helps. I mean, I'm on anxiety medication. I'm super open about that, and that's definitely changed my life too. So he's very well versed in the new treatments that are coming out. He goes to various like conferences and stuff like that to talk to people that have allergies or people that are in the allergy space that are creating new treatments, or doctors as well. And he also asks questions. He wants to understand how it impacts me so he can be more well informed and help his patients too that have allergies as well. Because what really matters is talking to people that actually live it day by day. So he probably, I assume, probably follows allergy advocates online or other doctors online that share, knowledge, but also he does ask important questions, which is super key in my opinion. But do you have any sorts of things that you think is important for family physicians to do as well? Because you're a family physician yourself. So,
Yeah, I'm hearing you. Like, I mean, my number one thing was exactly where you started. It's just knowing the science and the evidence behind what we're doing, so that you
yeah.
can make sure that you're giving people the options and making sure that they have the right connections. My second thing was going to be being open to the conversation. Partly because I just in my personal life, but then also in taking care of patients, I've just had so many stories where what sounded like something else turned out to be an allergy. So we thought it was a stomach ache. It turned out to be allergies. Or it sounded like you were having anxiety and it turned out it was allergies and anxiety. It wasn't one or the other, it was an and so there was opportunities where you could have missed the diagnosis if you weren't really attuned and listening to what was going on with the patient and sort of hearing about their story and about what was going on with them and what was different.
Yeah.
And really being mindful about, sometimes it's got to take a little bit of time. You got to spend some time with a food diary maybe, or
Yes.
listening to hear what's happening. Like not everything is always so quick as, you get an x-ray and the answer is there. Sometimes you got to do that back and forth and the conversation, the discussion. So I love both of the suggestions you gave. I think they're really helpful. One of the nice things about getting to do these sorts of conversations is that we get to share about resources that we have from the American Academy of Family Physicians. And I'm
Yes.
excited because they just updated their resources on food allergies.
Yay.
And on familydoctor.org, there's a whole ton of resources that are
Oh
available for
yeah.
lots of topics. Food allergy is one of them. There's a specific page that's called Food Allergies that helps on the patient side. So it was designed for anybody to be able to pick it up and read it. So it's a great place for both doctors and their patients alike to go. And then we do have continuing medical education and other things for family docs looking for more information. So definitely spend some time on the website if you're looking to get
Yes.
better at this as a family doc. We've got lots of resources available. Um, Mia, I'm just so glad I got to meet you. I'm glad
I
we got to talk.
know. Yes, I totally agree. You're so awesome, Dr. Savoy. I mean, I really appreciate you having this conversation with me today. And you're super knowledgeable about allergies yourself, which is awesome. So I love that. I love that.
Thank you for bringing your spirit. Thank you for the work you're going to do in the future, helping to take care of patients and helping them have the confidence and the knowledge and skills that they need. And thank you for the current work you do as an advocate, being a voice for folks
You.
that maybe don't always feel like they get heard. And then I want to thank all of you in the audience for showing up and listening
Yes.
today. We really appreciate you making the time. If you've got more questions, like I said, feel free to check out the information and the resources available on aafp.org. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of the day.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you. And we'll save this so you guys can watch this later. So for those that missed it, well, have a wonderful day, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. All right. Bye bye.